This is interview with John Schmidt, February 21st, tape 1, side 1. People were all interested in how the mines worked and everything, but no one really cared about the people who worked in the mine.
Oh.
And I'm taking a graduate course at Montclair State University. And this whole thing started out where I had to do a project on labor. And having lived in Rockaway Township for, I guess, 24 years now, I'm a newcomer by your standards. It made sense to do something on the mines. And then as I started, I found that there was nothing about labor at all. And when I spoke with a historian at the Rockaway Township Historical Society, she said, "Oh, there's nobody around anymore. They're all gone, and there are only a couple of, like, 3 ladies, and they don't want to talk to anybody because they're skittish and afraid." And then I happened to bump into someone who said, "Oh, good friend of my family. Good morning."
How are you? Would you guys like coffee?
I'll have coffee, thanks.
Yes.
Got some juice also?
No.
Okay. And why don't we get on breakfast? Would you like breakfast?
No, I just had a sliced toast.
Would you feel like an omelet or eggs or something?
You guys look, I'll go get your
Okay,
coffees,
thank you.
okay?
Okay.
In fact, I think I'm going to have a Spanish omelet.
I think I'll have a Western omelet.
There you go. So, what happened was, she said, "Oh, my family had a close friend, and his name is Ken Kramer, and let me see if he wants to talk to you." So she called me back. After you.
I have a Western omelet.
Do the omelets come with home fries or anything?
Yes, home fries and toast.
Right. What kind of toast would you like?
Just a regular toast.
Regular toast, okay.
Excuse
See, back in the old days, the bread probably said regular bread.
me.
I'll have the Spanish omelet, please. A glass of orange juice. And I'll have whole wheat toast with that.
Then you want regular toast and
Yes.
home fries. Okay. Yeah, you're waiting. Okay.
So, I met with Ken, and Ken told me he's still working for the mine. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And he in turn gave me the name of George Kovach. And I met with George, and when I met with George asked me if I would mind asking his brother to join us, because his brother John was very interested in telling me things about the explosion and everything, and I was very happy. And then they in turn put me in touch with his sister Barbara, and then of course I heard a lot about the death of George's dad. And then of course I had also gotten, I guess, from Ken, your name, Alan Chupa's name.
Who?
Alan Chupa.
Chupa, yeah.
And there's also a fellow no one's been able to get a hold of yet named Charlie Pensnick. He seems to have disappeared. But in any event, so on Monday I'm meeting with, let me see, I'm trying to remember now.
It's an interesting
Fellow who was an electrician. I can't remember his name. In any event, I'm meeting with one of the others on Monday. So each of them has told me though. They said, "Look, everyone's always interested in mine, but no one really asked about themselves." So what happened was, whereas this began starting out as a project, a term paper for my graduate class, it reached a point where it got a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
And my wife said to me, my wife's a librarian in Parsippany. She said, "Stu, you have an obligation. There are a lot of stories, and there's a lot of living here and experiencing that's never been told." I went to the Morristown Library, which has a local room.
Is that a
Local-
county library
No,
or
this is the one in Morristown.
Morristown Library?
And they have a better selection of local history. They have a separate room with separate librarians just for local, and they have nothing by what we call the oral history. So it seemed to make sense that, I guess you might say God has put in my hands the ability to learn from you and from Ken and from George and John and others what it was like to be part of the community of the mine. In your case, you were a surveyor, and sort of put this down for posterity so it's not lost. So when I get this done, hopefully I'll do a decent job. There'll be copies of this going to the Morristown Library, and actually any library who's interested. In Rockaway Township, I think stupidly, any local history they put downstairs in a room because they don't want it to be destroyed. So if someone comes in and wants to
They never
see
made
it,
copies of it?
no, it's all downstairs in a locked room. So it's really not accessible to anyone. And when I asked them if they'd like a copy of this, they said, sure, we'll put it downstairs. I mean, they're afraid it's going to go up, which still means that. So there you go. So what I've done with the other folks, and it seemed to work out well, was rather than my asking you questions, what I would like is for you to start off telling me, when you were born and where you were born and schooling you went to and so forth. In your own words, work into your experiences working with Mount Hope Mine and any other local mines in the area, your relationships with management, relationship with the miners, experiences that you recall, what it was like being part of that community. If you can recall anything concerning, what wages or fees were like. I don't know if you were a contract worker or whether you were on the payroll employee. So all of these things I'm interested in, and you may have been there before the union, you may have been there following the union. So with that, why don't we start? And at the end,
There's another person that you might want to get in
There we go.
contact with, Art Casperson.
What's his name?
Casperson.
C-A-S.
P-E-R-S-O-N.
Okay.
Arthur. And he lives in Pennsylvania.
And I want you to know this all started because I was told there's no one around anymore. Everyone's gone.
But he lives at 221
Right?
Independence Way.
Okay, hang on a second. Independence Way.
Mount Bethel, Pennsylvania.
Where is Mount Bethel? Do you know?
Well, that's 18343, if you want to write him. 'Cause I don't have his phone number.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Well, it's, if you go west on the 80,
Over the Gap.
well, if you go to the Gap, you go south on 611, I think.
Okay.
And it's just down there a few miles.
Oh, okay. So it's not that far.
No.
Okay, what did he do?
Well, he was my helper.
Oh, okay.
Nice guy.
So would you say, would he be called the surveyor's helper?
Yeah, well, he was a surveyor's helper.
Okay. Okay, great. So when and where were you born?
I was born 1914 on December 5th in Boonton Township.
Okay. And where did you, because you lived with your parents?
Yes, I had, that time I had an older sister and brother.
Uh-huh.
About 2 years later, I had another sister. But in a few years, say before 1920, that was a
Right.
6-year period, I had lived in Boonton Township, Staten Island for a couple of weeks, Chelsea, Vermont,
Oh my.
for a while. That's where my grandparents were at that time.
Okay.
Previous to that, that's my father's parents. Previous to that, they were here in Booth.
Okay. Where did you attend school?
I started school here in Booth,
Right.
but at that time I lived on Liberty Street. The family lived on Liberty Street, and in 1920 I was supposed to start school in September. And at that time, they had a rule that if you weren't 6 years old, you couldn't start school.
Okay.
So you had to start after you were 6. So I was 6 in December. So I started school in January after when the next semester started. And went to school for a couple of weeks, and we moved to Denville. So and I wanted to go to school in Denver. My parents wanted me to go to school in Denver, but they wouldn't let me start because I wouldn't learn enough to go to first grade. So I was almost 7 when I started school. And so I continued school in Denville and
Until what grade?
through the 8th grade, and then I went to Rockaway High School there on Keller Avenue.
That's not the.
It's not the high school anymore.
Okay.
It's grammar school.
Okay.
Matter of fact, when I was there, they only had about, they had a few classrooms of first or second grade in the lower half of it, lower part of the building, and high school was upstairs.
How come your parents moved to Rockaway?
Beg pardon?
Why did your parents move to Rockaway?
We didn't move to Rockaway, but we were a sending district.
Okay.
We went from Denville to Rockaway.
Okay. And until what grade did you?
I graduated from Rockaway High School.
Okay. Now, after high school, I assume you had to attend some kind of training for surveying.
No, I didn't. When I got out of high school, I was looking for a job.
Okay.
And during the Depression, it was a pretty tough thing to do, unless you had a wife and 5 kids.
Okay.
And
This was what year, roughly?
well, I graduated from high school in 35. And so during the Depression, my dad would work for Lackawanna Railroad, which is now Conrail. And he was only working 3 days a week. So the other 3 days, or 5 days, 4 days, he would do repair work on various homes around the lakes in Denville. And he was, every year, he would open up this one house and close it down the winter because it was just a summer bungalow. And the owner of the house, I forget his name, was a high officer in the Colonial Navigation Company in New York City, which had 2 boats. They would have one in Providence and one in New York, and they would load stuff on, load stuff off, and load stuff on to go up, and they also carried passengers. They had a thinking room with a couple hundred passengers. And so they got me a job there as on the saloon deck. They had a bar, and they had another little bar off to the side where you could have sandwiches and candy and cakes and stuff like that, and magazines.
This was a tourist boat?
Yeah, well, no, it was a daily boat.
Okay.
It wasn't tourist, it was daily.
Okay.
And we would leave New York around 3 o'clock. Well, what I was saying was that in this bar, I was in charge of that. So I took care of that until around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then closed up and went to sleep. But we would leave New York at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and get to Providence, Rhode Island. no call.
Okay.
And I worked there for a few years, and then I came back and down, and
Western. Hispanic.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
it's almost like a brunch.
Pardon me?
See, this is almost like a brunch.
Oh, that's good.
And
A well-fed man is that.
then I started working for a grocery store in town.
Right.
And I worked for them until up into the war. And then I went into service. And being that I was a grocery clerk, they put me in a service battery of an artillery battalion.
Where did you serve in the Army?
I beg your pardon?
Where did they send you?
Well, I went down to Fort Meade, Maryland,
Okay.
and I was there for a while. And we'd be training for artillery. And one of the methods of training was going down the road, going from one position to another, just advancing, you might say. And the forward party, forward observer, which I was supposed to be in, would say they had a fire mission, they had a problem. So they needed a fire mission, so we'd immediately pull off the road no matter where we were.
Right.
And that's sometimes tough. And then we'd draw fire, we'd set up and fire our guns to register on the target. And we had a battery exec who was a first lieutenant, and was in charge of the 4 guns. And he would insist that I go with him because he couldn't read maps too well. So I would be an extra guy in his Jeep. We'd pull off the road, and he'd tell me that I'm putting my gun, number 1 gun, underneath that, near that tree there. So I'd take a pin and put it in that position. I'd read it on the map.
Right.
And in the meantime, the corporal or the lieutenant in the observation group would give us the coordinates of the target. And then the battery exec would shoot the gun. And I had to give him the bearing and the distance to the target. We were getting our first and second rounds on the target. Usually
This
you have
is where
to.
you started somewhere in the...
Yeah. Usually you'd have to adjust, like you get an over or a short, left or right, and then the forward observer would adjust that to the target. And the exec would always have me go with him because the first time we didn't do that. We didn't get that, but before we were finished, we could get the first and second round on the target, which is a check.
Well, let me tell you, as a side note, I'm a contractor at Pickett City Arsenal,
Yeah.
and I work with a group called the Fire Control and Software Engineering. And of course, everything is computer directed now. The motors of the old days
Yeah.
from the John Wayne movies are gone. Now they type into a keyboard the position that they want, and everything is corrected for wind and range.
We had to take all the cage breaks.
This is all computerized now. In fact, it's even done from a moving vehicle as the vehicle or as a helicopter is bouncing up and down in the air and swerving to avoid enemy rounds. The computer software makes sure that the gun remains on target. So it's a little different world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know because I was talking to an engineer, a surveyor up in Sussex County here a couple of years ago. They were out there surveying near my daughter's place. So I went out and talked to them. And their transit and the rod they have to put on the point gives them the distance, the bearing, and the coordinates of the point.
So this is where you learn the
That's
science of surveying.
where I learned surveying. Yeah.
Okay, so when did you get out of? Did you ever go overseas, by the way?
Yeah, I was in Europe. I'm in Normandy Beach on Omaha Beach in Normandy on D+7, which was 7 days past the D-Day.
Right.
The beach was pretty secure then. I had to walk to my neck and quarter for a half mile, let's say, maybe a bit longer than that. Because,
Okay, so you left the service when?
and I got my discharge on November 1st, 1945. And
It's interesting. I remember that. My date was March 6th, 1966. There are certain dates you remember.
yeah,
Okay, so and what did you? Well, when you left the service, you went back to.
I went home and I took that $300 they gave you. I thought I'd go around town and meet my old friends because I delivered groceries in town for 2 or 3 years before I went to service, so I knew a lot of people. I go to town, didn't know anybody. Not a soul. And people I thought I knew may or may not have been the person. So I saw this ad in the paper for an engineer's helper, surveyor's helper. And that was up at Mount Hope Mine.
Okay.
So I went up, applied for the job, they hired me. And the chief engineer's name was, can't remember his name. And his assistant,
This was what year?
1945.
Okay.
And November 19th I started.
Okay.
And and his assistant was Tom. Tom Holland. And we'd go underground and I'd be the gopher. I'd run back to the back side and run forward to get the forward side. And then one day I'm down with the chief engineer to do some survey work. I looked at raise, which is a 5x5 opening, going up maybe anywhere 45-degree angle up. And the place we had to set on, there was dripping water. And he sat in the crosscut there, and he looked at that, and he looked at me, and says that someday you're going to have to learn to set the transit up in the raise, so you just might as well start now. There I am setting it up. Never been in a raise before. Set the transit up underneath it. Turn the necessary angles.
I'm going to think.
You got a cell.
She's running around with.
Got a cell phone. Oh.
She's very busy. She's handling the whole place by herself.
From that day on, I was transit man.
Okay. How long were you with Manila?
Well, I started at that time. At that time, the mine was owned by Warren Foundry and Pipe Corporation, which had been established out in Pennsylvania in 1855.
And it was still owned by them at that point?
Big pardon?
And it was still owned by them after all those years?
No. Well, yeah. Well, then they there were a few. A fellow by the name of J. Leonard Replogle, who owned the Scrub Oaks mine, or leased the Scrub Oaks mine.
Right.
And which is in Mine Hill. And he and a fellow by the name of Joseph Wharton, and Joseph Wharton was the founder of that School of Business in Philadelphia. And and Joseph Wharton bought up a lot of properties up to Hibernia, Mine Hill, and he bought up other mining companies. So Joseph Wharton, J. Leonard Replogle, fellow named Poppenhausen, and James Cooper Lord. When you go into the old deeds of this of that region of Morris County, you'll find their names. And even here in town, James Cooper Lord, there's a park up here called Grace Lord Park, and I think that was either his wife or his daughter.
And of course, you have the town of Wharton.
Yes,
And
it used to be Port Lawrence.
okay, and I understand where the Wharton mine was. There's now a firehouse sitting right on top of it.
There are mines in Wharton.
Right.
And Warren Foundry and Pipe owned the mineral rights, all the ore in town, and they owned it. They had owned a lot of surface property there. They sold it all, and in selling it off, they retained the mineral rights.
Now, when you were working there, were you union or non-union?
I was non-union. The mine was union.
Right. Okay. And
I was called part of the supervisory personnel.
okay. Was it United Mine Workers when you joined them, or was it United Steel Workers? Do you remember?
It changed over while I was there. I don't know what year it was.
Okay. I've heard that there was dissatisfaction with United Mine Workers. It was John L. Lewis.
Yeah, there was.
And that's why they voted to join the United Steelworkers of America. Was your helper also non-union?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody in the engineering department was non-union.
Okay.
Occasionally, we'd take a union man down to help us, but he stayed on the union side. Oh, by the way, when I started there, the chief engineer was Frank Norris, and after I was there for 30 days, he came to me one day. He said, "John," he said, You're considered a first-class miner now, so you get a nickel an hour raise.
How much? Okay, how much were
So
you
from
earning?
54 to 59 cents an hour was a big jump.
You started at 54 cents an hour,
Yeah.
and then you went to 59 cents an hour.
Yeah.
And after how long was that?
I don't know.
So how much were you earning a week then? And how many hours per week did you work?
40.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't get paid for overtime.
Did you have to work overtime on
Once
that?
in a while, not much.
Okay.
So it wasn't that bad.
Now, how during this time, where were you living?
Here in Boone. Well, so I started there in 45. And in September 14th, 46, I got married.
Okay.
So, except for those few months, why I was not married, I lived in Denville.
Okay. Did you have a car?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how you got back and forth. Okay.
Yeah.
How much involvement did you have with the underground people?
Well, I went underground almost every day, for the most part.
So you were surveying underground.
Yes. In underground, you don't set up over a point, you set up under a point. What they do is they drill a hole in the back,
Right.
put a wooden plug in it, drive it in, and they put a little hook nail on it. It's almost like but that's open, of course. And you drive this in, then you put your string of your bob over that hook and tie it so you can slide it up and down. Then you set your transit under that. And for your backside, you just similar hook and you plug back further. And you do the same thing, you kind of bob on it. Then you look through your telescope and you put everything onto you measure the sight at the top of the bob, and you measure from the top of the bob up to the plug, because everything has an elevation on it.
And now, you working in a mine heavily in magnetite.
Yeah.
Wouldn't this magnetite have thrown, and you have magnetite all around you, wouldn't that have thrown off all your instruments when you're,
Didn't use a compass.
okay.
Everything was on coordinates and elevation. And when you get below sea level, you add your minuses, subtract your pluses to keep the right elevation.
Okay. Now, what instrument did you have to measure elevation back then?
Well, they got an elevation from the state, because the state had coastal geodetic monuments up all over the place.
Right.
And we tied, actually, the elevation of our shaft up there was around 830 feet above sea level. So we didn't have to go very far to get below sea level.
I don't want to go by these colors. I don't have this color yet, but I want to see what the world looks like with that.
When you were there,
Northern Arizona.
from what I understand, there were miners of virtually every European background.
Most of it.
Was there ever any communication problem?
What I'm saying is, I'm thinking maybe not.
No. No, they all spoke English when I was there.
Oh, okay.
They spoke their mother tongue too.
Were you there? Were you there during the time when George's father was killed?
George who?
Kovac?
No.
Okay.
He died
Um,
during the war.
okay. That's right, it was 1940. 1940. So that was before you.
Don't forget to eat over your dish. It is cut. You want me to make it smaller?
Apparently, during a lot of the time, both, well, before and after. Ah, there she is. And you never broke my orange juice.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll bring it
I
right
see you
now.
running like a chicken without a head.
The other girl isn't here yet.
And I was led to understand that with regard to promotions and so forth, that first, before the union came along, you had to be on the good side of the foreman. Otherwise, you wouldn't get promoted. You could lose your job very easily. And he brought in family members and so forth. And I understand after the union came in, if, for example, they needed a surveyor or an electrician or a mechanic, the union required, from what I was told, that it was based on strict seniority.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if you knew how to survey. If you were the next person up, you would be given the position. And if there was a challenge to it by, let's say, someone who was qualified, then they would hire the qualified person but still keep on the senior person. Is that
Well, a lot of that too. When we needed an extra person, say, to be an electrician, we'd have to post a job.
right?
And the guy that we didn't know anything about could sign for it. And management had the authority that if in 30 days he wasn't found to be qualified for the job, why we could take him off, which worked pretty good, except that some of the things that weren't too technical, the guy would really work hard and do a good job. He got 30 days, and after that he would slack off. You know, that happened too, but not too often.
I understand that with regards to the skilled things, there could be openings for an electrician, for example, who knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
And in fact, George's father was killed because the wiring had been reversed. And the elevator operator, whose name was Jenkins, had operated it with it reversed. In other words, this was with the vertical, the diagonal shaft.
Oh, the slope.
The slope where the men rode up and down. And there was a switch which they would throw, a lever they'd throw down to go down. In this case, it was reversed. And thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And what happened was, although the operator had been using it in the reversed wiring for a week or so, and insisted he didn't need a change, George's father got on the hopper with two others. His father was in the middle holding a piece of timber that was to go down. The operator, without thinking, rammed the switch down and the hopper went flying up, discharged them. So two men on either side had broken bones, and George's father was moved down the chute. And so he was killed. Did you have a relationship with the miners or their families?
Well, when I went there, the chief, the master mechanic for the mine, was a fellow by the name of Charles James. And my sister and Harold came, which is the son of Charles. We're married. So that's the only relationship I had.
Now, when you were there, you had in the area of the Methodist Church. There's also St. Bernard's Catholic Church. Were you asked by the management to attend any particular church?
No. No, that was back probably in the early 1900s, before World War II.
Okay.
And I don't know how far before that.
Was the company housing still
Yes,
around
there
with
was
this?
company housing was still there, and people lived in there. Matter of fact, Charlie Pensnick lived in the Fesh house.
Right.
He lived in there for quite a few years.
It's okay, it's all right.
Did you were you involved in surveying for any of the surface buildings, or were they all up at that point? The surface, like the houses or the other buildings,
No,
they were all up.
no.
Okay. How about the company store? Was that still there when you were there?
Yes, it was there, but not for very long. Because after a few years, the company used to, well, you know the old story. You got your money at the end of the month, because that's one time they only paid once a month. When I was there, they paid every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And the guy collected his money on payday, and he'd have all these deductions for pins, bottles, whatever, come out and maybe get a couple of bucks at the end of the month.
Right, I understand most of the mine personnel would buy at the company store and it would be charged against.
Yeah, we charged against their wages.
Okay. Did you use the company store? You shopped?
No.
Okay.
There weren't many, the only people that used the company store, because when I got there, the people were more diverse. They weren't living in Mount Hope anymore, you know. So Mount Hope was just a crossroad or a mine, actually.
Right, it wasn't the plantation?
Yeah. So people still lived in company houses. They paid a small rent. But when, after 50, in the 50s sometime, a fellow by the name of Shimoon, he had his relatives and friends buy up stock in the corporation. So he had the majority of the stock. So he goes to a meeting one time in, I don't know, New York. And at that time, a Mr. Dome, they called him Doc Dome for some reason. His name was D-O-M-B. And he lived here in Mountain Lake. I think it was 180, I think it was 180 Boulevard there in Mountain Lake. And he had this meeting, Doc Dole's meeting, and Mr. Shimon got up and said that in the course of the events, he said, I have 52%, but I'm 52 or 53% of the stock. I am now chairman of the board. So he changed the name in the mid-50s, he changed the name from one company back to Shimon Industries, of course.
And many people in my community, other than in White Meadow Lake, still refer to Mount Hope Pond as Lake Shimon.
Yeah.
And of course you have Mount Hope Rock. Right.
Well, the Mount Hope Pond is a little pond.
Right.
The big pond is a mill pond.
Correct.
And I was going to say something.
Lake Shimon.
Yeah. Took by.
So at that point he owned the works.
He owned the works, and he wanted 5,000 miners working in New Jersey, buying up other things. Oh, White Meadow Lake was owned by Warren Foundry and Pipe at one time. They bought it from a fellow named Hoagland. Because White Meadow Lake used to be a Hoagland's pond.
Correct.
And So during the war, I don't know whether it was 41 or 42 or 43, somewhere down there, they sold it to the New Jersey Housing Association or something like that.
Well, let me see. It went to National Home and
That's
Star.
right, national.
Right. And then in the 50s, National Home and Star, so that became the first property in the state of New Jersey where there was a relationship between the corporation that was set up for maintenance and the property owners, whereby the property owners would have, by their deed, would have to join the association that provided for security and road maintenance and so forth.
Yeah.
And there was a tax map drawn up with various properties that were to be included in this. And
Yeah.
so one part of the corporation was a tax exempt property. And then another part of the corporation was a regular organization for holding dances and things like that. And everyone, to this day, everyone who buys a home there must join the association.
Yeah.
So there you
That
go.
was like similar to Mount Tabor.
Yes.
Mount Tabor was a
Well, the
Christian.
yeah, right. The difference with Mount Tabor is that the Methodist Church still owns that property, and you buy a 99-year lease.
Yeah.
Correct.
You pay taxes
Right.
to the church.
Now, speaking of White Meadows, there was a White Meadow mine. Were you involved in that at all?
Yeah. After we were Shire National, because in 1972, Moon sold the mine to a construction company from Edison. I think they called it Hale Crest.
Yeah.
The Hale brothers.
Gail Crest.
And they ran the mine, and they were using their mine supervisor, who was a geologist by the name of Bob Hagerman, and he was running the mine. But Shimon had sold the mine to them in what, 72. And they wanted me to stay, but Shimon's son-in-law, what was his name, Charles Shanna, who was now president of Shire National. They changed the name from Spoon Industry to Shire National, but they don't own the mine at Mount Hope. They owned the properties in Rockaway Township over in Hibernia. Property that had Norton, Mine Hill, Stanhope,
John Schmidt, tape 1, side 2. Let me see this. The Split Rock.
No, didn't go quite to Split Rock.
Okay, Beach Glen,
Beach Glen.
Hibernia, Wharton, and so okay, so he owned.
So in the Hibernia area, there was the Beach Glen mine, which was the Hibernia mine, the Meriden mine, and so that was still owned by now Shire National.
Now, did you travel and to work at all of these?
I surveyed most of the exterior.
Now, when you had to travel to these places, did you use a company vehicle or did you have to use your own?
I used my own, they paid me mileage.
Oh, okay.
It was 15 cents a mile.
Which in those days was probably a fair rate. Which in those days was probably a fair, reasonable
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, gas was what? 55 cents, 35 cents, something like that.
Well,
I forget what it was.
let me see. Back when I was a young man, around 17, 18, I remember 32 cents a gallon, something like that.
I can remember during the Depression buying 13 gallons for $1 when they had the gas wars on.
But you didn't. But $1 was tough to come by.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Is this Bob Hagerman still around? Do you think?
No, he died quite a few years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
He was from Washington, up in New Jersey.
Right. Did you ever get hurt on the job?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, one time I got hurt doing a call sign. I was in Wharton, up on the hill, where that power line goes over to. It goes over there from Route 80 and Main Street Junction. There's a power line that's up there, and I was up in there. I was cutting a property line through the woods. There was this one area where I had these scrub oak type stuff with little tough branches coming out. I was cutting it off, and I hit the branch, and it had turned around like that. And when I hit it, swung away and came back and went right in my ear. So they sent me to an ear doctor there in Dover.
Okay. Did they pay for that?
Yeah, they paid for it.
Were you out of work at all?
No.
You went right back to work?
Yeah.
Okay.
No damage done it. It was bleeding a little bit, but that's all.
Now, during the time you worked, what benefits did you receive? Personal benefits.
Well, when the kids were born, they paid the hospital fees. And I don't know whether it was the life insurance or not. I really don't remember.
Did you have sick leave?
No. But then if I took a day off, or if I took a day off like that, why, I wasn't deducted.
Oh, if you took a day off, you got paid for it.
Yeah, I got
Okay.
paid.
Did you have paid vacation? How much vacation did they give you over a year?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 weeks, but then sometimes I got called back early or something.
Okay. Did the union ever try to unionize? Did they ever make overtures to you?
No.
Or did they acknowledge that you were considered management and, okay.
Oh, see, the engineer department was responsible for the wages paid to the contract miners. Because if a miner was driving a raise or a drift or a subdrift, well, he was paid, I think, at that time when I first went there, $1.53 an hour. No, it wasn't the first and if he didn't, and he got paid so much a foot per advance in his raise.
Yeah?
So if he didn't make any advances, he was paid $1.53. But if he made the advance, he was probably paid around $3.
Who measured the advance?
The engineer department.
Okay.
And I did most of that. We measured the advance in the drift or raise. We also surveyed the scope where they broke the ore from the main body. And we plot that up and measured out to get the number of cubic feet of ore removed, and paid them.
Did you ever have conflicts with the miners over how much they thought they advanced, over how much you thought?
Yeah, well, yes, except I would say we had some conflicts, but nothing serious. I made the mistake of one time. A miner came to me and said, "How much did I make in dollars and cents?" And I told him what I thought, but I wasn't thinking clearly, or maybe I so I told him that he would get so much. When he got his contract, he was maybe about $20 or $30 short.
When you say his contract, and his payroll record?
Yeah.
Okay.
payroll because we measured them, and if they had in ore they got one rate, and in rock they got a different rate. If the raise was 45 degrees, they got a raise. And then when above that, every 5 degrees they got another 50 cents a foot, something like that.
So if they were unlucky and hit rock, they wouldn't make as much money.
Yeah, they would because they got paid more for the rock because it was harder to drill.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And if they put cross cuts out, 5x5 cross cut, or 4x6 cross cuts out to the side, they would get paid for mucking that. Get a handmade rate for mucking that, for drilling in plastic, and then for mucking it was included in that.
So how much would a miner earn in a week or a month?
Well, they were making the average miner, because everybody that worked in the mine was a miner. So if you say that, why that's the electrician, the contractor, the pipeman, the transportation guys, the guys that were taking stuff.
The locomotive drivers, right?
Yeah. They were all miners, but the contract miners, they got paid for their initiative and their ability to drive a raise or drive a drift or sub-drift or a mine.
Again, when you say contract miners, you're talking about the actual drillers.
Yeah, they were mostly drillers.
Okay.
And because the muckers, they were paid a certain rate. The people that brought up stuff from the chute. There wasn't much hand mucking in the mine, like it was, like you see the old coal mine.
Now, with these varying rates that you're discussing, was this before or after the union?
It was union all the while I was there.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And it was union even before that. Matter of fact, they had unions back in the early part of the century.
Okay.
Because they were talking one time about they had a strike at the mine, and they were bringing these sheriff in from Morristown. They come up by train from Dover because the mine owned the railroad, and they met with gunfire and things of that sort. So I guess they went back. I don't know what the true story is,
Right.
but they did have some problems, and that was. I don't know whether that was in the 1800s.
Were there any strikes while you were there?
Oh yeah.
Now, did you get paid while you were
I worked.
Pardon me?
I worked.
Oh, okay. Now, if you were serving surface and you were surveying below surface, then I gather you had a very busy day.
Yeah.
Because every time they advanced, how many surveyors were there?
Well, now when Moon was there, he had a mine captain, a mine superintendent, and Frank Woodruff, I think his name was. And he was from Michigan, and he was changing our method of mining in our stopes. Now to shrink stopes, we'd work on broken muck all the time. We'd drill, fire, and then we'd come in, work on top of that, and do some more drilling.
You said string?
Shrink stoping.
S-H-R-I-N-K?
S-H-R-I-N-K, yeah.
Okay.
And that means that when you got to the top of the stope, you had a lot of ore there. And so he was changing it over to, and the ore you had, you couldn't draw out because the men had to work off it. So you had to be careful how much you drew down. And so they came in with this new method of sub-level stoping, where you take and you go out and you shrink part of it to get started, up maybe 30, 40 feet. And then you would have these ring drilling in the sub-level, and you would blow it out to the one end. So no matter what you did, no not how much is in October. It was available now. You didn't have to wait a year or two to finish the stove to get the Oreo out. And I liked that better than the shrink stove, because every month I had to survey that shrink stove, and it's pretty scary.
How far down did you go?
Oh, I was on the bottom shaft with 2,795.
Okay.
And,
So I knew about the 2100 level. I didn't realize it went.
yeah, we had some mining on a 2,500 level.
How did your wife feel? Did she have any problems with you doing that?
I think she may have worried a little bit now and then, but
She accepted it as a
Yeah.
life.
I never had any problems.
Now, how much of the time did you spend underground?
Underground?
What proportion of your time?
Well, I usually was underground before 7:30, and we usually come up around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We seldom waited to the end of the shift, and then when they did the survey work, maybe the next day we would work that up, or if we come up at 12, what we surveyed, we work up and match it.
How did you find management in terms of your own relationship with them?
Oh, fine. I never had any problem with it.
Did you find that they were generous?
Generous? No, I wouldn't say generous. They were fair.
I don't know. It's very busy. Don't interfere with my schedule.
You don't want me to use up my days here. I know.
You can exercise at night.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks.
We'll do the Appalachian.
At the end of the day, I think you went back to your wife in Boone Township. Here. Pardon me?
In here in town.
Yeah, Boone.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What kind of activities did you do in your leisure at night?
Oh, we went for walks, movies.
Did you have anything to do with any other employees of the mine, management or otherwise?
Not that much.
So you didn't have any social relationships with any of them.
No, every once in a while the mine would throw a party of some sort, and we'd go and have dinner, enjoy each other's company.
You actually retired from the mine.
No, in 1972 when we sold the mine, I went with Sire National, and they had an office there at 199 Sherry Hill Road in Parsippany. And so the company had all this property, and they didn't know where it was. They knew where it was, but they didn't know. They didn't know whether they went down the street. They didn't know whether they were by our property or someone else's. And so I knew where all the boundary lines were. I could go out a half mile in the woods and show them what corner, what track that was on, what tax map it was on, what tax law. I could tell them all that because I was very familiar with it. I'd surveyed most of it, and when they had any problems, like up there near Green Pond, there was somebody who had dumped some stuff on the land, and the people that were there thought it belonged to the mine. So they told the town called us up. The boss said, we'll go out and check it out. So I'd go out and I'd tell them that whether or not it was on our property. If it was on our property, we did something about it. If it wasn't, why someone else took care of it. We had the same problem down Wharton, there where East Dewey Avenue, goes under the power line there just before you get to 15 South. And we own properties in there. And the people are complaining that the water was in their backyard and their kids went out to play. They would get in the water and they were throwing rats. So this was in the late 60s. The mine superintendent, who was Mr. Brophy, he had been mine superintendent of the Richard mine. And Moon hired him to come over to us when Richard mine closed down. And they said these water was drawing rats and it was bad for their kids and stuff. So the town wrote us a letter to come down and check it out. So Brophy took me down there and he says, well, what's going on? I said, the county had been working on Dewey Avenue. There was no curb there, so the water on Dewey Avenue would run into this place and go around behind this house. That property was ours. And they looked over there. People had garbage cans outside their house, alongside their house, with no lids on them. So the girl from the office called me up. Or I called the office. You know, the girl, the woman answered. And she said, I told her I was calling in regards to the problem on East Dewey Avenue. I told her who I was. And I said, well, the county did some work on the road there. They didn't put any curb in, and the water runs from the county road into our property. And I said, as far as the rats are concerned, I said, the people there have trash cans outside their house and no lids on them. I said, that's what's drawing the rats, not the water. And I said, the railroad, there was a railroad that they did, Portland Northern Railroad. And this was the Mount Hope branch of that. There was, had an embankment about 2 or 3 feet high. Of course, the water went down there, couldn't go anyplace. And on the other side of the embankment, the elevation was lower than it was on the side where the water was. I said, so I don't think there's any really our problem, except that everybody's pouring their water into our place and don't have any place to go. So they had a meeting. They had the mine safety man there, and the mayor and everybody else. I didn't go to the meeting, the superintendent. And they brought the fact what I just told you, and so they said, well, we'll have to check it out. So I don't know what the county did with the road, and the railroad was there too. The railroad engineers were there. They said, well, if there's supposed to be a pipe underneath there to drain that water out, why, we'll clean it up and get it out of there. But I don't think it ever happened. So. But that's the last we heard of it.
So when did you actually stop working for the owners?
When did I stop working for them? You mean from the last company that had it? From Shire National?
Correct.
I think it was December 31st, 1980.
Now, did you draw any retirement benefits?
Yeah, they gave me a retirement That's issued by the pension. I think they handled it.
So even though the ownership had changed, you had still...
It was still sort of the same company.
Right.
Same.
Now, let me see what did Mount Hope reopen again?
Well, yes. Hillcrest was running it, and Hagerman was in charge.
Right.
And they were, you hear so many reports, you don't know how much is true and how much is false. Because people tend to exaggerate. You know, when Shimoon sold to Hillcrest,
The brothers have had a stick.
all the miners, well, we weren't a mine then, we were a farm.
Pardon me 1 second. Shimoon, you said sold to Hillcrest. What is Shire?
Shire comes into it the day they sold to Hillcrest. They changed the name from Shimoon Industries to Shire National
Oh, okay.
after the sale.
Okay.
And, so, where was I?
Shimoon sold to Hillcrest, but the reopening.
And Hillcrest reopened the mine. Things that went on, they didn't have experienced miners. The miners didn't have the proper supervision because the people who were there to supervise them weren't fully aware of what was going on. And it seemed to me that there was a lot of negligence to make things look good. Because when I was the last 2 years I was, last year and a half or 2 years I was there, I was quarry master. We had a quarry after we shut down the mine in '59 and went into the quarry. And I laid out the quarry with the benches and stuff. And I was getting. When I left, I was getting 800,000 tons out a year from March to November.
And who owned the quarry at that point?
Shimoon.
Okay.
Shimoon owned it
The
then.
quarry, which is presently Mount Hope Rock Product?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
That's what I meant.
And did Hillcrest buy the quarry as well?
that was part of the that was part of the mining property.
Okay.
Because they went into mining, but they didn't get into it immediately because it takes time to have the pump the mine.
Right. Okay.
And they would have to. So they were running the quarry because they had a quarry down around Clinton somewhere. I think it was near Clinton. I guess the name of the town. They had a quarry. And they were a road contractor. I think they built roads. But I don't know what happened, but it didn't work out right in the mine.
Did you ever work for Hillcrest?
No.
Okay.
Well, maybe I did. I had a license to run the Class S license to run
Pardon me?
I had a Class S license to run the sewage plant. They had a little sewage plant there where you chlorinate the water after it comes through the filter bed.
Right.
And so after I left there, they paid me $20 a month or so to
Just to oversee that.
just to send in a report. And so that's working for him, I work for him.
Oh, okay. Do you know of anyone else who's still around? I'll try to contact Arthur Casper.
He's quite knowledgeable of the surveying aspect.
Did you ever make an attempt to rent company housing?
No,
Okay.
no, because on December of 46, I bought the house. I moved in on January 29th, 1946. before I was 6 years old.
I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to eat. I realize I've been
No, that's all right.
driving you strong. During the period you were there any periods when the mine was shut down temporarily?
Yes.
Okay. Go into that.
Yeah, I remember one time I gained 40 pounds. I used to running in the mine all the time, and we had that anomaly out in the north end of the mine, where they had that big trench out there that's 300 feet wide at the top, about 30, 40 feet deep, and there was a stream going through it. And after, I think we took something like 900,000 yards out of that hole of soil or overburden, and from about April to the following January or February. And one day, Jersey City Water Department called us up and told us we got to do something about that red stream or brown stream that's coming down into the reservoir, which is quite a few miles from the river.
Thank
right
you,
down
guys.
there.
Okay.
And the thing was that this fresh dirt was very fine, and it got picked up by this stream of water and went right down into Lake Ames. Lake Ames was, and you can see that stream going right down over the overflow in Lake Ames, down the Beaver Brook, and on into the Rockaway River and down into the reservoir. You could follow it all the way down.
Right.
So they said, you've got to do something about that. So what do? We built a shack out there and put a feeder in for feeding aluminum sulfate. I think it was aluminum sulfate. We'd feed that in so much an hour. And no, we did. We had to put aluminum sulfate. So much an hour, about a 50-pound bag. We just put it in the hopper. And that would drop into this stream coming through the cut and settle out the fine dirt. And so we had to put a couple of settling ponds between Snake Hill Road and the Lake Ames. And so we were shut down for 5 or 6 weeks. And so my job was to go out there and say, sometimes it's the afternoon shift from 3 to midnight or 3 to 11, or sometimes from 11 to 7. And so I'd have my 3 meals at home, and I'd take a lunch with me. And I'd have another lunch sometime before midnight.
So you were working that entire time.
So that's what I was doing there. And so I gained weight.
Were there any times when Mount Hope was shut down because of slow business, where perhaps you worked at one of the other mines?
Well, I could never say. That was all Mr. Schmoon's mine. If he could make believe, he had a ticker tape in his office, which was down on 54 Liberty Street in New York. And, they still had the office there when it was Shire National. And because before they sold, they had me running maps down there all the time from the mine. And they shut it down, I think, after Shire National had it for a while. They shut it down. We went over there to clean out the office.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
We went over there to clean out the office and take all the stuff in there. We found personal stuff, stuff like that. But we were pretty busy.
So what did you do when they shut it down?
When we shut down the mine, when we shut down the mine, we went right into the quarry because I think he knew what he was going to do because he had a problem with U.S. Steel, I think it was. He told U.S. Steel he wants this much for his ore, he's not going to sell it to us. But then the real reason was that Mount Bolivar down in South America and the Labrador up in Nova Scotia, those big iron deposits have been their quarry, which is pretty cheap.
Sure.
Yeah, because we were in our quarry, between our drilling it, blasting it, mucking it out, and transporting it to the crushers. I think it was costing us something like 24 cents a ton. And in the mine, I don't know what it was costing per ton to get it out. But the expenses were a great deal more. And the expenses of it and the union, this is the only time the union and the company worked together. Went down to Washington, D.C. to see Congressman or the Senate, I forget which. And they were putting the case before the Senate or Congress. And wanted to know what we could do to run the mine. Because it was getting too expensive either. Couldn't make.
You told about controlling the imports.
Yeah. So they said, well, how many men do you employ? Well, at our peak deployment, I think we were around 350 men. Because I think we were running 3 shifts underground, 2 drilling and blasting, and 3 transportation of
Was it about 80 per shift on the surface?
around.
Okay,
Yeah.
plus your surface.
Yeah. Well, the 2 drilling and blasting shifts were the biggest. The tramming shift, which was the 3rd shift, was just maybe 3, 6, maybe 12, 14 men, plus a few more. Because there always had to be an electrician, there always had to be a mechanic, things of that sort.
Right.
And it was really, really interesting to see it.
Now, during the period of time we were there were other mines that shut down.
Oh yes, Richard Mine had shut down. All the 130 or 140 mines in Michigan had shut down. They were hematite. And we were magnetite. And what the Congress said was, you employ 350, 400 people, and we can buy the same material from other countries cheaper than you can mine it. Therefore, we're conserving our national resource.
By buying it elsewhere.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to conserve our. Actually, I don't think they care one way or another.
I understand there's still a very significant deposit there.
No, yeah, when I left, I think we had 9 million tons of ore left between the surface and that 2,500 foot.
Now, were you in the area of the site when it closed down?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, my understanding is that most of the equipment, in fact, possibly all of it, with the exception of a locomotive, was removed from the facility before it was allowed to to fill in with water. Do
I
you recall that?
I don't know really, because when it was still Shimoon Industry, I was working in the quarry, and every once in a while the superintendent, Mr. Brophy, would make a tour of the mine, and he asked me to go with him because I knew where everything was, more so than he did. And we'd go down and walk the various levels. We didn't go up the razors manually. We just walked the level. And every once in a while, he would say, well, let's check this chute. There'd be a chute there where they used to draw the material from the chute. And so I'd climb up a little step there and look in. And there'd be plastic caps with wires attached to it. And he'd say, well, we better take them up. So we walked further in, and every so often we had a magazine which is maybe 2 feet by 3 feet, blasted in the side with a little door on it. And they put dynamite in there, a box of dynamite or something for the trammers, because they'd get something stuck up in the chute. They would take a couple sticks of dynamite, put the cap in it, put it there, run the wires out, and shoot it to break it down so they could pull it out. And now this is after the mine had closed down for a while, and we'd open it up, and there'd be maybe 8 or 10 sticks of dynamite about 8 inches long, 3/4 inch in diameter.
Just hanging around. Just hanging around.
Just lying there. And it was sweaty, which is a glycerin. Because it was usually, I forget the
TNT?
No, it wasn't TNT. TNT is more sensitive than this one. And so the next time we come down, we'll have to take that out. And so next time we were down, we took a plastic bag and put it in there. Go to another place, he'd look at that, and there'd be a couple more sticks, and we'd find a cap here and there. And it didn't take much to set that off after it was sweaty like that. Actually, we were breaking out how many laws by doing that. But we brought it up and they did away with the quarry. And it was interesting.
What kind of training did people get to use dynamite?
Well, they have to have a license. All our drillers and blasters had a blasting license. They had a pass it, I think, before the state mine safety and how they handle dynamite to get the license. Now they didn't have a license to go out and shoot stumps and things like that.
Right.
They only had a license for doing their job. Yeah.
So, if the mine is as I've led to understand, if there were a reason to reopen the mine, whether for national purposes or otherwise, my understanding is that once the water were pumped out, that mine could be reactivated again. I assume there are survey records on file on everything you had done.
The mine has all those records. At least they did when I left.
Right.
What they had now.
Right. Are you aware that all of them, with regard now to the new Leonard, which is the most recent one, that all of the machines still works? Ken Kramer goes there on a weekly basis. He's still hired by the present owner. From Halecrest, it went to a Swedish firm. The Swedish firm then sold it to another firm because they wanted to put in that pump storage project. And Ken Kramer has been retained. He goes there every week, activates all of the machines, makes sure that there's still grease and so forth. And
Well, I don't know what machines they have.
the big hoist.
The hoist.
Right. So
The hoist and the air pump and the air compressed air.
apparently it still all works,
Yeah.
and they've kept it functional.
Matter of fact, we were using that when we were running the quarry. We ran a 6-inch aluminum pipe, 50 feet long section, and we ran it from the compressor room up to the quarry, and then we ran feeder lines out and hoses to the drill, because we were using the Ingersoll Rand compressor, 300 compressors, I think they called them, and they were on wheels and stuff like that. We'd run them for 8 hours to activate the drill. And so some of the time we were using the pipeline, and some of the time we were using the compressors. And we had something happen to make one of those lines break one time, and that's 100 pounds per square inch. And what happened was, I think something shifted and put too much of the strain on one of the joints, and it popped open. And the air coming out of there picked up the gravel and stuff and skinned the bark right off the tree to about 40, 50 feet.
Did anyone get hurt?
No, it was out in the woods.
Oh, okay.
And so, of course, as soon as I heard the thing go over while they were down, they shut the compressor down and put the pipe back together and started back to work.
Right.
But just shows you what can happen.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
Like sandblasting.
and the funny part of it was that the other compressors, the individual compressor for each drill, would put out 100 pounds per square inch too of air. And the 50-foot hose would drop the pressure down 2 pounds. And if you had 100 foot of hose, it would drop it down maybe 3 or 4 pounds, maybe 5 pounds. So you had to be careful not getting too much hose, or you wouldn't have you just heat up your drill and not doing the drilling.
I understand originally that they were dry drills, and then later on they went to the water cooled.
What, drill?
Drilling, yeah.
Oh, no, it's not water cooled. The water's there to knock the dust out.
Oh, okay. I thought these were water cooled. Okay.
Originally, when they started using jackhammers in the stove,
And you had a tremendous amount of time.
you turned them on, and in 20 minutes you couldn't see. So, but then when they originally had the jackhammers, they were steam run. You had to have rags on the handles and everything. But while I was there, they made the laws that in order to turn your machine on, you had to have water on it, as well as air. Matter of fact, turn the water on first, and then you start calling your hole, which was the most difficult part, was getting the hole collared. And so and guys there for a while, a couple of guys had a problem with their lungs. And so they made it mandatory. The office said, well, everybody should go and get their lungs. Hold on.
Were they required to wear masks at that point?
Well, no, because you're using the water on your drilling. But still, no, there was always dust in the air of some sort. So, and it was silica, you couldn't see it, you couldn't feel it, but it was so fine, it was sharp that it would cut your lung sacs, and they would heal over, they would scar, and deny the use of that sac. So after a certain percentage of time, you ran into a problem. So everybody went down to, I don't know, Dover. We went, I think it was the Dover Hospital in all cutting. And
Now, is this silica a component in the ore that contains
not the ore, the rocks,
Okay, granite.
the granite.
Okay.
And when Bob Hagerman, who later became the sort of a superintendent up there at Hailcrest down, got his report back, he had a certain percentage of silicosis, which is comparable to
John Schmidt, tape 2, side 1. The interview with Dave Bogart was similar to what we discussed.
yeah.
Because from what I gather, no one has written up any of these interviews other than about the mine themselves. But you were talking about the silicosis, and you said it was similar to something else.
Yeah, the silicosis was a problem. So Bob Hagerman had gotten his report back before the night itself, and I said, "Gee, he's got a percentage of silicosis. I wonder how much I had, because I spent 4 times as much time in the mine as he did, and into the working areas where they're actually doing the drilling. Because we would go in to survey a place that they were drilling, and they stopped while we surveyed and go back out. And so I was kind of worried. I said, and when my report came back, it told me I was clear. And so I called them up and asked them to check it. Or the office called and told me I was clear. I said, will you check that again? I said, some guys have been in the mine only less than a quarter of the time while I've been down there, and they've got it. And he said, well, some people are more susceptible than others. Good. And some people actually got paid for, say, having 12 or 14% silicosis.
What were the results of your exams?
I don't remember what it was, but it was nothing.
Good.
It showed no silicosis. But then,
Was there any cure for this or treatment?
no, the only treatment is cure for it is get out of it, not go back in it, because it just keeps building up. And some of our drillers got paid for having a certain percentage of silicosis. And one of our drillers went to the hospital for pneumonia or something. Pneumonia, I think. And he was recovering and getting out of it. And he says to his doctor, he said, he said, with my silicosis and pneumonia, because I thought I wasn't going to make it. And the doctor said, if you'd had silicosis, you wouldn't have made it. Because what happened was, in the drilling, they have an oil bottle on their drill to lubricate the inside of the drill while it's drilling, while it's rotating and hammering. And the water going through there to keep the dust down comes out in the fine spray. And they were breathing this spray for 4 or 5 hours a day or more. And the oil was coating their lungs.
So you had the
So,
silica.
and it showed up, it showed up as silicosis. Because after a while, if they took another x-ray, they didn't have silicosis. So it was an interesting experience.
So did this newer technique highly reduce then the significant incidence?
The water on it. Well, we had miners there when I first went there. It was in 1945, and most of the miners, some of the miners had the old carbide lights
Right.
that you would put stuff in and put a little water in and it'd drip down and then you'd light it. And they were changing over to battery powered lights. And some of the miners, the drillers, didn't use it because they were using fuses that burn rather than
So they
gas.
wouldn't want a lit
Yeah.
lamp.
So they would take and they would hold them, tie them all together, and then cut them to whatever lengths they wanted because they couldn't all fire at once. They had to be a certain amount of fire to take a wedge out or a burn, and then relieving all around it to get their opening. And you take two raises that were 150, 200 feet apart, and one guy they would all light their rounds about the same time, but sometimes the guy would do it a little bit earlier or a little bit later, depending on whether he had to go further to get out of the way. This one fellow was on a steep raise, and he started to light his round, and the round next door went off and blew his light out. So he had to start it over again. And he did that, he got some of them lit, and the light went out again. And, so by the time he got them all lit, the other guy was firing and blew his light out again, and he went to light it, and it wouldn't light because his fingers were wet and everything, and it wouldn't spark and stuff like that to light his light. So he had to go down his raise in the dark. And when I say dark, I mean dark. You can't see a thing. It's that dark.
Is it raise? R-A-I-S-E?
Beg your pardon?
The word raise. R-A-I-S-E?
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, it's an access way.
Okay.
And so you had to go down in the dark. And now this raise is about 65 feet, 65 degrees steep. And you got pins sticking out of the bottom every 18 to 20 inches, sort of parallel to one another. And you have to go down that to get into the
It's
cross.
probably about
Yeah,
60.
yeah. And to get into this crosscut down the bottom. And the only way you knew it was a crosscut was some light out in the drip showing into the crosscut a little bit so he could discern where he was. And he got into the crosscut and his round went off. The next day he had electric light. You know, there were only a few deaths in the mine when I was there. I was there from 45 to 59. I was there after that, but in 59, in September, they shut the mine down.
How did the company treat the families of the persons
According to the rules and regulations that they had.
pretty much all union?
Yeah,
by union
they all had insurances, I think. And that's what they got. If they lost a leg, there was a certain fixed amount for the leg.
Now, was that part of the contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they lost a hand, it was a certain amount.
I understand that the family was in company housing. The company allowed the spouse and unmarried children to remain there rent-free.
Yeah. Well, what they usually did was start a boarding house
Okay.
for the other miners that were unmarried or something. They needed a place to stay, so they.
Right.
But that was in the early part of the century.
Right.
The later part, they didn't do that when I was there.
Oh, okay.
But the mine, the accidents when I was there was sort of, the first one I remember, the chief engineer came in one day and said, before we started to work, we got everybody in the drive in the change room, said, I can't remember the fellow's name. He had been injured at rockfall in the stope, and he'd broken his leg. They got him out of the mine, took him to the hospital. They were fixing up his leg in the hospital, and the guy died in the operating room. I guess he had a heart attack, I'm not sure. He said he shouldn't have died. He said, you don't die from a broken leg. And that
Like
was
winning the battle and losing the war.
yeah. Then the next one was several years later. We had a fellow from Franklin, New Jersey. I think he'd worked in the mines up there, but then the mines closed down, and we were hiring, so they came down to work there. His name was Van Tassel. I think one of his brothers was a state policeman that just died here a while back. He was working down the bottom of our Leonard Vein, which is on a slope, and it was quitting time. Or no, he was working down there, and it was time. And he had to go up, so he signaled for the cage to come down, or not the cage, what do they call it? For the truck that they loaded into. So he got in there with his other guys, so it must have been quitting time, and to go up. And they signaled, and they had a rule there that you weren't supposed to get in the skip below the chute, because when the skip comes up past the chute, it's only about that much clearance. So you didn't want anybody in there to do that kind of clearance. And so they lowered it below the chute. The guys got in, and they may have to go 100 feet or so before they got to the chute. But they were playing around, they were horsing around in there. And the guy got caught and got rolled. And by the time he got to the shaft collar, he was dead. And another fellow who was...
When you say rolled, he went over.
No, he got up over the edge of the skip, which he was inside, he was leaning over, and he got rolled by that, and he crushed him all inside, so he died on the ground. There's only that much clear.
What proportion of the accidents or fatalities would you say were caused by carelessness?
Well, it's either carelessness, not thinking. Mostly it's not thinking. Because they weren't thinking when they were horsing around. And I don't know what you could call it careless.
Well, through failure to observe safety instructions or requirements.
Well, they weren't following instructions.
Okay.
So, then the other one was a fellow who was fairly new to the line. I think he was Puerto Rican or Hispanic, and he was from New York City. Because they were hiring, they had guys going out hiring people. They'd go to a bar and hire someone because they wanted minors, and if they weren't minors, they would teach them how to be minors. And this other fellow they brought in, he was, they were making him a trammer. That's the trammers mean they load the cars and then tram it out to the dump. And this fellow was in what they called a grizzly, which had a chute coming in from the stope, and it would work out slide out onto the grizzly. Now the grizzly was steel rails that were maybe 20 feet long, and they were about 18 inches apart. And his trammer was his, and below this grizzly was a pocket where the stuff was loaded into the cars that was down on the drift. And this trammer would go out there and work the stuff through the bars if they jammed up, or he would put a chunk of dynamite on it and shoot it to make it smaller to go through the grizzly. And he went out there, and this was an area where there was quite a bit of water, not pouring water, but dripping. And he went out there and probably went out on the rails, which he wasn't supposed to do, and fell through. And he slid down into the chute. And this dripping water picked up the silt that was there and washed it down. And he was there unconscious. Maybe he hit his head on something. He was there unconscious, and the silt flew down and covered part of his head and his body. And so he died. He actually suffocated or drowned. And I don't know whether they didn't instruct him properly or avoiding instructions or whatever, but they don't know how because there's nobody there to.
Okay, now, when the miners went down, they put a brass tag on a hook so that it was known that they were in the mine. When you went down, with or without your helper, was there any indication by a communications device up the top side that you were down below so that people would know you were there?
No.
So if you didn't come up, they'd still be looking for you?
Yeah. Yeah, well, if you didn't punch out, but if somebody else punched out for you.
Okay, so there was no safety device?
No.
Okay.
Now, if there was any dirty work done, for instance, if two miners who had loggerheads, and one killed the other, and you'd go up and you'd punch out for the guy so he wouldn't be found or something like that. Well, that could have happened, but whether it ever did or not, I don't know.
But if you went down there and you lost your life, for example, it would be a long time before people would start to look for you.
Yeah, well, there weren't too many people that worked alone.
Was your helper generally with you?
Well, in a raise, you got over a certain number of feet up. The company paid for a helper to be with you. Whatever the going rate was for the company. And whether sometimes the contractor would probably give them a few extra bucks. Because you had to climb up 250 feet and 65 degrees. It pretty much worked because the machines weighed over 100 pounds. And they were about 5 feet long. And,
in terms of yourself, though, did you generally work alone or with a buddy?
I was with someone all the time. Once in a while, I would go down the hall to check something out. But I always let the ship boss know that I was in there.
So when you were with someone, was that for protection, or was it simply because you needed a physical
Necessity.
Okay. So safety wasn't the issue there,
No.
operational requirement.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there was. I'd been down mine many times. I'd been on the bottom level, and went to the north end on the 2,500 foot level to its face, which was 3,000 feet or 2,800 feet.
Let me show you some pictures, see if they evoke any memories. These were all provided by Ken Kramer.
Yeah.
These are not the originals. I've used an electronic
Yeah,
scanner.
you wouldn't get the original.
Well, he lent them to me with the promise that I return them, which I did.
Yeah.
And, these were done with a scanner. It's a slusher.
Yeah.
This is a picture of some guys, just a group of guys.
Yeah. This looks like Art Casperson.
Oh my, okay.
This guy here. I think that's Art. I might be this guy in a white hat. Not a white hat.
Okay. Art is in this, and also John. Okay. Then this was on the 1700 level. What piece of equipment is that?
I don't know. That looks like a bench. That must be.
Oh wait, that's the work. Okay, that's the machine shop on the 1700 level. I was looking at it upside down. Yeah. Let me get this other stuff out of here. Oops. Okay, well, This was just the front of the cover of that blue book you may remember.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, these are all scans from the original. They would be Lake Shamoon, as we call it now.
Yeah.
And let me see, I think
This is the sewage bin with the sewage.
sewage treatment.
Yeah, sewage treatment plant. The little shed that was in right here, and this is the stream coming down through here.
Okay, let me see. Are there any company houses here? Not in
No.
not in this one. Okay. This was
That
a
looks like a
picture.
fish
This was a photograph. This is a scan of a very old photograph. He said this was some of the better.
Fish house.
Which one?
That's a fish house.
This is the fish house.
I think so.
Ken had just said that these were a couple of the better houses.
Oh yeah. These were because I think I don't know which way this is going up. I don't think it's a fish house. It's a double house.
Right.
Door and door.
Right.
That's a double
Okay.
house. That's by the church there somewhere. Because that stone wall is on the cut going up the
Uh-huh.
hill.
I'm sure you recognize that one.
Yeah, this is the mine shaft.
That's
the
the
water tower.
New Leonard.
Yeah.
It's just not easier to
That's a separator.
Is that separate or the crusher?
That's a separator. I think it's a separator. It's not a crusher. Oh, it's a dry. Is that a drying? Oh, wait a minute. That must be one of the mills.
That's the fellow I'm meeting on Monday. He was one of the guys who worked in the mill. I can't remember.
What year did he work? If he worked there while Hillcrest had it, I don't know.
Okay, he was referred to me by Joe Melko, who was there in the 50s and the 70s.
Is it Melco or El?
No, Melko. Joe
'Cause
Melko.
I knew there was an Elco. E-L-K.
Oh, wait a minute. I have his name here on a slip. So I'm meeting him.
I don't know much about the mills.
Let me see. Oops, we don't want to lose that. Okay, Bob Babis.
Bob Babbitt?
Babis, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, he's the one I'm meeting on Monday. He was a cousin of this Joe Melko. And he worked the mill.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's see what else. Okay, that's
This is Hoy's house.
yep, that's the hoist. And it still runs.
Yeah.
Now,
That's in the rock plant.
now this was to run the ore up. Well, the just conveyors.
I think this is a rock plant. This is not running ore, it's running crushed rock. Yeah. Because there were only.
That's Ken Craig.
Yeah, that's Ken.
And this isn't a photograph. This is just printed on photographic paper.
Yeah.
This is from the computer.
Yeah. Remarkable what they can do today with that.
Okay, again.
You see, when I was there, they had one conveyor going out to the waste pile, and
Well, this would be more of the same. This is the old Wharton line.
the herd mine.
The herd. 2,500 foot level. And you said the crusher was on that level.
Yeah, crusher was just below.
Okay, and here are your pegs.
Yeah, those are for your. No, this is
Those aren't the pegs?
no. Let's see, this guy standing here,
Right.
he's on the bottom.
Right.
I don't know what that stuff is. See, this is your air pipe.
Okay.
Take air into the to the drill.
Okay, I thought these were the pegs that are.
No, they would be in the back, on top.
Okay. And then the shrink stop.
Shrink stope.
Stope, is it?
Yeah, S-T-O-P-E.
Okay, I'm glad I'm showing you this.
Granby card, 21 level.
I understand it's called a Granby car because it was made by a company called Granby.
That's right.
And let's see, what's this? Oh, a mucking machine.
Yeah, that's for driving the drift.
Okay. And let's see what. Okay, this is another shot.
Now this is where that's a raise with is that somebody on it?
Yeah, down there.
Yeah, well, that's going up
Right.
away from it.
Yeah.
That's the air line, the water line. This is the air line, that's the water
Okay,
line.
actually, it's probably like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You put a little arrow on that if you want to.
Yeah. Let me see. Here's an overview.
Yeah.
Okay, here we have some houses.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, this.
And there's a sister picture. There were two of them next to each other. There you go. And there's what the whole thing is.
This is here, right?
Right.
These two.
Correct.
See, this is the old mill, I think.
Okay, and these are
Oh, no, here's the old mill here. I don't know.
I think these are company houses, right?
No, I don't.
No?
I don't think so. Let's see. This is the old office up on top of the hill.
Okay.
These might be company houses. These two.
Okay, so that's, see, I have this on the computer.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's the old office.
And this.
And these were company,
And this is the old shaft. What's the name of that shaft?
not the Richard.
No, that's not the Richard. The Richard's down there somewhere.
Okay.
Because this here is the old carpenter shop. This is the mill.
Okay. Which is, this is the carpenter shop?
No, wait a minute. What are these things here? I forget.
Okay.
Because when I got there, the engineering office was still in the old office up on the hill.
Okay.
And then we moved down to the
Okay. Again,
change shop.
these are electronic scans of photographs.
Yeah, that's dumping into the car.
Yep.
Okay. That's out there by the guardhouse.
Uh-huh. Now,
That's railroad cars there too.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay, this is, so there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, these were all from Ken. In fact, he just gave me a bunch of old union books that go back to the 40s.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything else you can think of that I haven't poked your brain about?
I don't know really.
Any other memories? Things that happened while you were there? Unusual situations? Any labor issues?
Well, we had. I started telling you before about this one time when I told this fellow the wrong amount for his wages. He came into the office and was mad at me because I told him wrongly. So I said, "Well, look," I said, "I was just guessing. I didn't know for sure. Here I got 20 or 30 contracts that I have to work up, and you came to me in the blue, and so I told you what I thought at the time." I said, but then when I got to the office, I checked on it, and I found out that I didn't get that much. But we had contractors come in there. They hired a contractor to drive, I think, on the 2100 level, drive the drift. They come in there, and I had the survey station. I measured to the face before they started, and it was so many feet. They were using 9-foot steel, drive, and if they break right, it'll have 9 foot of advance. So they fired in a 2 week period of time, they fired something like 6 times. And so that means they should have 54 feet of advance. So I come down and measure them, and it wasn't 54 feet, it was only 48 feet.
Right.
So they come up, they come in the office, talk to me, and I said, look, I said, if it was that many feet short, I said, it should show up somewhere. So I said, I'll go down with you. I'll be down there sometime today. So I went down there, and I said, how deep a hole you're drilling? So we're using 9 foot steel. I says, are you drilling a 9 foot hole?
Now, when you say 9 foot steel,
The steel is 9 foot long.
okay, the drill.
Yeah,
Okay.
steel itself that goes in the drill.
Correct.
And they have a chuck. Steel goes up to that chuck.
Okay.
And if they put that chuck up against the face,
That's 9
they got
feet.
a 9 foot hole.
Okay.
If they stop 2 feet short, it's a 7 foot hole. So, and they had grinders. They had 3 drills on this rig. They run it in there and drill. And they claimed that they were drillers. Well, they were to a degree, but not really professional as they should be. And so I said, where did you start? And they had it marked on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had copies of their contract, where the measurement from that same measuring point. And I measured to it. And I said, because I had the guy run the thing out, the tape out. I held the tape at the one by on there. And one of his men were there, and he read the tape as I did. And the fellow, he said to me, buddy, he said, that's right. He said, that's where we started. Moved on into the face. And to the same distance that I had measured to his contract. They put a mark on the wall. That's where it was. And came to right to a hole. He'd fired twice since then. So I measured on in. I said, see, you're not drilling a 9 foot hole. I said, you're only drilling a 7 foot hole or a 7.5 foot hole. I said, you're not breaking to the bottom of your steel. In some places, you could see there was 6 or 7 inches of the hole that didn't fire, whether they didn't load it or didn't fire it properly or didn't drill it properly. So they understood. Never had a bit of trouble with them after that.
Okay. And you never had anyone getting angry at you because
No,
they thought you were trying to cheat them or anything?
no, because I had a good rapport. Remember I mentioned we had a strike? I'd drive my car up to the office and park it by the office. Other supervisory personnel would do the same thing. We'd walk in, or they'd bring a truck out and take us into the mine, which was, well, you know what it is in the office.
Sure.
And mine was the only vehicle that wasn't vandalized. These were all Union guys. And I'd known them since I went there, most of them. Some of them had died and some of them moved away and the mine shut down. But we were a quarry at the time of the big strike. I don't know whether that was 56, was it? 66, somewhere in there. And we had, they asked me not to go in. I said, well, I'm not going to go in here. I'm just going to go in there, go through some of my records, check up on stuff. Maybe take one of the guys who up the quarry and survey the quarry. And so I'm not really doing anything. So they never said anything to me after that. But they cut the air hoses on the railroad cars. They tried to cut stuff out and they cut the brick wires and break on the trucks and things of that sort. And they damaged some of the personnel. They broke a window or tail light or something. I had a good report.
These were people who they saw as scabs?
beg your pardon?
Were these people they saw as scabs?
Well, no, we weren't. They didn't call us scabs. They may have, but we never told them. Yeah.
Why did they vandalize certain people? They just didn't like.
Probably.
Just
Well,
not a good relationship.
Some of them, they had some people that were in the office that had nothing to do with running the quarry except the office. There was one guy there, I forget his name, and I guess he'd read stories or books about old-time strikes where people murdered one another.
Okay,
and
thanks.
that and the other.
Bye-bye.
They were, and he wanted to hurt somebody. From what I looked at, he wouldn't give them an inch in anything. He said, "Well, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this," but he would have, if he were a police officer, he'd be a killer, in my mind.
Right.
But he had no idea of how to deal with people. I'm not great at it, but I like to treat people the way I like to be treated. And it's the way it should be.
Right.
Because, everybody's their own individual.
Sure. Okay. I'm gonna run to the bathroom. Yes. Art Casperson.
Art lived in a was raised in Mount Hope, or Middletown, just below Mount Hope on Mount Hope Rockaway Road,
Okay.
where that road comes up. And there was a little house there. Right now you go by the back door or the front door when you go up, depending on which way you're going.
Okay.
And he lived in that house there. And when I went to high school, his brother and his sister were in school with me. And his sister was above me, and his brother was below me. And his father worked at the mine. So I told, when I first met Art up there at the mine, I told him, I said, "Well, I went to school with your brother." He said, "Which one?" I said, "Butch." Because everybody called him Butch Casper. He said, "Well, all my brothers are called Butch." Yeah, it was something of that period that everybody had a name for somebody. And so if you were a Casperson, you were a Butch.
That's funny enough. His father worked at the mine.
Yeah.
His father was probably used company housing
Yeah, well, at one time.
at
yeah,
one time.
probably.
Okay.
But then I think he bought a place down there in Middletown.
So his father was probably in the same era as George Kovach's father.
Yeah.
Okay. Going
Well,
back.
I knew
30s.
Mike Kovach.
Okay.
I knew Mike Kovach and his son Frank, was it, worked with me in the mine when he was going to college.
Okay.
Come there, he'd come to the mine. He was my helper.
That's right. They're John and George's brother Mike.
Yeah. Mike just died here a few years ago.
Right.
Well, anyway, Art, when he first came to the mine, he was my helper. We'd go down, we'd survey a raise, and in order to survey the raise, we had to stop the drilling. And the driller would always help us. And this is Art's first time in the mine. And he was going up this raise. It was fairly flat, under 45 degrees. And it took him forever and a day to get up there, and never a day to come back and do this. So when Art went down with some of this stuff, and I came down, the driller took me aside and said, "Johnny," said, "don't bring him in anymore." He says, he'll never be able to do this kind of work. I said, "Yeah, he will. He'll just get used to it. He'll be all right." A couple of years later, he was still helping me, and we had a raise that was 70 degrees. Now that's only a few degrees off of vertical.
Right.
And I set the transit up in the corner, took my backside, and turned the angle to go up. And I think the plumb bob on the target I was shooting at was about 6 inches from the top. And so it was hanging down this far. And my plumb bob over to my machine was
think something like 16 or 17 feet. That's how steep it was. And I said to Art, I said, we have to get the tape up to that log. So he tied it onto his jacket or onto his belt. And up that raise. Now, if there's any loose stuff on the bottom, it would come down and hit the machine or myself. And the machine was worth around $1,200. So he took it up, and the raise that steep and that long, because it was something like 175 feet, 176 feet. And if anything, those pins are either bent over or broken out or not there anymore, because the driller went up the manway on the side and went through crosscuts. He rigged into a crosscut, so he didn't have to go up this when he go up and go over, because the manway had ladders in it. But we couldn't do that because we had to measure. Now today we wouldn't have to do that with the new type machines they have. You could just set up there and shoot up. You wouldn't have to measure because it's all done by the machine. But he did it. He was a damn good operator. Later on, when he left the mine, he went to work for the New Jersey Power and Light. And while he was there, he got his land surveyor's license.
How recently have you been in contact with him?
Oh, we exchanged Christmas cards.
Okay, so far as you know, he's still alive.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to give him a call. Okay. If I get assuming I get his phone number, would you like it? Would you like me to get it for you? Or it doesn't matter, you do it by mail?
No,
Okay.
we just
Okay.